Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and as we look ahead to Marvel in 2024, there are still several unanswered questions from Loki, from Quantumania, from Guardians Volume 3, Secret Invasion, the Marvels, that leave us pretty confused as we look ahead to titles like Deadpool 3, Agatha, Fantastic Four, Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars. Here are 30 questions at the top of our minds as we head into the year of 2024. Some of these I'm going to start to answer based on what we know so far. Some I'm just going to leave with, Question 1. Seriously, why the is no one talking about the dead celestial in the ocean? This is perhaps our most frequently asked question, and it's one that Marvel haters love to bring up after every MCU title. At this point, the only rational in-universe explanation is that the people within the MCU are talking about it. It's just that the characters we've been following have bigger fish to fry. And behind the scenes, there's a kind of government cover-up operation to keep it out of the media, while world powers try to mine Tiamat's remains for minerals like adamantium, a plotline that could get explored in Captain America: Brave New World or Thunderbolts. This is the thinking most of the Marvel fandom seems to be going with, and it sounds pretty good to me. 2. Could all multiverse saga titles be taking place in different universes? We have been hearing this theory more and more often as Marvel Phases 4 and 5 keep releasing titles that have so many plot holes in their canonical connections to each other, from Nebula and Rocket stealing Bucky's arm, to no one referencing Tiamat in these other titles, to all the plot holes with Nick Fury and Gaia in Secret Invasion. This is a pretty fun theory, I'll admit, but if Marvel Studios were to start to say Shang-Chi is set in a different universe than She-Hulk, and that those were two different abominations, I don't know, guys. Marvel's brand is really just gonna start to fall apart and will only make sense to the fraction of us who do this kind of logical math in our heads on the internet. But for Marvel Studios to be successful, it needs to appeal to everyone else who doesn't live on YouTube like we do, people who see movies the second and third weekends, you know, our brothers, our roommates, our cousins. And for all those folks, one shared universe with a single continuity still is the most logical, despite the number of plot holes that are forming. But with Echo, Marvel is launching this Marvel Spotlight brand for titles in which you don't have to think about the broader canonicity as much. I think they will still be canonically linked, but they will just be less reliant on having to do all that homework to get what's going on. 3. Who is causing the multiverse incursions? Recent Marvel titles have suggested Kang's responsible, or one of his variants in the Kang Dynasty, or Sylvie, or Loki, Peter Parker, or Doctor Strange, Ultron Infinity from What If, one of the Marvels. One of these characters are even more responsible for these universes colliding into each other. I believe it is the multiverse's destiny to collide, for timelines to intersect, to incur. It's just what was going to naturally happen on its own, and that all of these characters, through their lives' actions, just kind of break the walls of reality in their own ways. And they all think that they were the one to do it, but it's not really any of their fault. They just kind of expedited this nature, and that it's really the Kang Dynasty that exploits those weakened borders. So it's no one person's fault for these incursions. It's a natural state of the multiverse to be a mess. It's just that the Kang Dynasty is egging it on. 4. What is the difference between timelines and universes? This question comes up a lot, and Marvel seems to use these terms interchangeably. I think according to Marvel, timelines and universes are essentially the same thing. They're both kind of realities that are parallel to each other with minor differences, but essentially alternate Earths with alternate superheroes. You have the 616 timeline / universe / reality and the 838 universe / timeline / reality. They're synonymous, but Marvel calls them timelines when it's coming from Loki in the TVA, because the TVA measures reality in terms of time, a sequence of causal events. But characters in the MCU call them universes when characters within those timelines are talking about themselves in the space that they occupy, and other universes in the space they occupy, referring to just kind of like what they seem to see as endless spatial existences with these numerical designations of 616, 838. So timeline when you're an outside observer from either of the universes, looking at it in terms of time within the time stream being loomed into a weave. Universes when you're within it and don't really see it in terms of a line. Now, neither universe nor timeline are to be confused with realms. Realms / dimensions are surrealist buffer zones between universes. So like the quantum realm, the gap junction, the Nord dimension, the ancestral plane, the dark dimension. All of these things don't really look like Earth. They look like weird surrealist paintings. And I think the TVA and the Void and the Citadel are all contained within a different timeline-independent realm. All right, 5. How did the TVA begin? Loki Season 2 didn't really answer it. It indicated that everything He Remains said in the Season 1 finale was true, that he did create the TVA, and he said that the loom he built to automatically prune the sacred timeline and weave it together was destined to overload and automatically reset from time to time, and that was just part of its function. The series just really left us guessing how much OB inspired He Who Remains and how much Victor Timely inspired OB. But if OB only ever got his inspiration from Victor Timely, then really he was getting his knowledge from a watered down He Remains Kang. So I think this Kang variant created the TVA, and it wasn't until Victor Timely was activated by Renslayer and Miss Minutes that OB just spawned into existence in the basement. That's why we didn't see him in season 1. 6. Will Loki have to sit on that throne for all eternity? I think he's prepared to, but I think Avengers Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars will feature a rescue mission to rid the multiverse of the risk of Kangs so that Loki no longer has to do this job. I've covered this in a couple videos. Question 7. What happens to Renslayer? Well, head writer Eric Martin hinted in an interview with Esquire that there might be a clue with the pyramid and the Sphinx position behind Renslayer in the Void in her final shot in the Loki season 2 finale. I don't think Alioth eats her. I think he's an old friend and a pet to her, and she will use Alioth to escape the Void. When? I don't know, maybe Secret Wars. 8. Will Marvel stick with Jonathan Majors as Kang? Well, I'm recording this in late November with Majors' legal process still developing. By the time you watch this, there may be an update to this, but right now, I think, yeah, I kind of think that Marvel and Disney might recast him. I just kind of have a feeling. Number 9, who are the 10 Rings calling out to? Ever since the Shang-Chi post-credit scene, the 10 Rings' mysterious connection to the Bengals, aka Quantum Bands and Ms. Marvel, we had assumed that they were calling out to the Kree and would set up Dar-Benn in the Marvels, but nope. Now it kind of seems like the likeliest option is that the 10 Rings have some connection to Kang and foretell a coming incursion between these realities. I think I'm gonna cover this in another video. 10. Where did the second bangle go? At the end of the Marvels, the 3 Marvels acquire both Quantum Bands back from Dar-Benn, but in the final scene, Kamala is wearing one of them. Where's the other one? Carol Danvers is wearing it. If you look closely as Carol enters that plane on the Rambo home, she is definitely wearing the second band on her wrist. 11. Why didn't Gaia get entangled with the other Marvels? In Secret Invasion, Gaia turned into a Super Skrull with lots of Avenger DNA, including Carol Danvers, and that meant having her cosmic powers. So technically, she should have gotten into the same cosmic entanglement with the Marvels. Look, folks, the Secret Invasion producers took a lot of swings while not really understanding these decisions' impact on the broader MCU, and honestly, that series just gets more and more nonsensical with every new MCU title that comes out that has a foot in that part of the world. So I don't know, maybe we'll learn the multiverse is a living entity like Eternity, and Eternity actively selected these 3 women to link up together, and when Eternity looked at Gaia, she was like, not that one. 12. How long has Rhodey been a Skrull? Will Secret Invasion stay canon? Secret Invasion's implication is that Rhodey has been a Skrull since Civil War, and I think that is completely ridiculous. Overall, Secret Invasion will stay canon, but I am hoping that in Armor Wars or Secret Wars, we might meet like a multiversal variant of Rhodey, maybe a life model decoy of Rhodey, just some Rhodey completely removed from the Skrull, Rava, and what happened in Secret Invasion. Or maybe Marvel could just make this simpler and just clarify Secret Wars was saying Rhodey's hospital gown was not the one he was wearing in Civil War. Really, that was just from some prostate exam that he got right after Endgame, and the Skrulls snatched him there. Because I can buy him being a Skrull during the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but not during Infinity War and Endgame. Come on. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. You can love holiday season and also admit that it's stressful. Travel, time with family, marking time with New Year's, it can be a lot. And if you feel like you could use a little help with it all, try connecting with a licensed therapist by using BetterHelp. Starting therapy can be hard. The right therapist for you may not be in your area, and some people struggle with the face-to-face interaction of therapy. With BetterHelp, you can have your therapy sessions as a phone call, as a video chat, even via messaging if you prefer that, whatever is the most comfortable version of therapy for you. Just click the link in the description and answer a few questions about what you're looking for from therapy and what your preferences are. BetterHelp will then match you with a therapist from their network that's right for you. If you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a therapist for no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. If you think that you might benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/newrockstars. Clicking that link helps support this channel and also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so that you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. 13. Are there really 1 million Skrulls on Earth? Where are their humans? Well, we should clarify that not all Skrulls have to actively replace living humans. Like, some duplicate humans who have died in the past, like Nick Fury's wife. Some shift constantly from appearance to appearance. Some just kind of live in their green skin and never go out in public. But a big chunk of that million are sleeping in those beds in that basement in London that Sonia Fallsworth showed Gaia, which was another really weird inclusion from that finale that made no sense. I think the idea was that Skrulls are in a position to try to repopulate the Earth if they ever want to. But the way that sequence was edited just really left a lot of questions. 14. What is the political situation on Earth after Secret Invasion? Yeah, we're getting a lot of Secret Invasion questions. I'm not surprised. President Ritson declared war on all extraterrestrials extraterrestrials on the planet, which makes things complicated not just for any Skrulls, but for Asgardians as well. Remember, in the Marvels, Valkyrie escorted Skrull Emperor Drugi and their survivors somewhere. So I think they might have established a new Asgard somewhere else off of Earth, or Valkyrie has fortified Tonsberg, Norway as an extraterrestrial sanctuary protected zone. But overall on Earth, extraterrestrials are being hunted down. 15. Which X-Men universe are we seeing in Deadpool 3 and in the Marvels post-credit scene with Beast? Well, I made a case in a video recently that we are seeing a new X-Men universe that incorporates elements of the original lineup from the Fox X-Men films and elements from the X-Men 97 animated universe. What we are seeing is kind of a newly constructed X-Men Dream Universe, a temporary transitional universe that is designed to self-destruct in the events of Deadpool 3 and in Secret Wars. 16. Where are the X-Men? Hey, they're coming in these titles, folks! But if your question is why aren't mutants all over the place in the MCU yet, I think they are, and Kamala Khan is just the first one that we've met. I believe Kamala will be the star of Marvel's third age, the Mutant Saga. 17. What happened to Kang the Conqueror in Quantumania? Well, he got pulled into a probability storm, but he's not dead. The TVA case file on this incident that we saw in the final minutes of the Loki finale reported that this Kang variant, labeled K8910, is whereabouts unknown. I think this Kang is going to learn from his countless doppelgangers in that probability storm and master his understanding of all possible Kangs and their life choices. And he's going to level up and return as Kang Prime, the ultimate threat in Avengers Kang Dynasty. And yes, I think the 5th Avengers film will still be a Kang story, with Michael Waldron writing both that and Secret Wars, and it'll just be kind of a two-part event. 18. Where will we see Doctor Strange next? Well, there were reports that Doctor Strange 3 is going to adapt the events of Time Runs Out, which makes sense. But I feel like Marvel Studios needs an Avengers Temple title sooner than they need a third Doctor Strange movie, so I assume Doctor Strange will show up in like a post-credit scene of Blade or Fantastic Four, and then play a major role in Avengers Kang Dynasty, with Michael Waldron building on the dialogue he wrote with Strange and the 838 Reed Richards in Multiverse of Madness. 19. What happened to Mordo in our universe? Think about it. Technically, Mordo's Too Many Sorcerers pledge and the post-credit scene of 2016 Doctor Strange is the MCU's longest unresolved promised subplot. Unless some of you are still holding on to Terrence Howard saying, "Next time, baby." But with Mordo, we may go a full 10 years before we see where he went after saying that, because the only Mordo we met in Multiverse of Madness was from 838. Multiverse of Madness's original opening was that main universe Mordo still hunting sorcerers and tracking down the Scarlet Witch, leading to her beheading him. This is something that we saw in concept art. I actually want to see Mordo in Blade, leading to number 20. Where is Black Knight Dane Whitman? So after hearing Blade's voice in that post-credit scene for the Eternals, I want to see Blade team up with the League of Supernatural Hunters that become the Midnight Suns, which could include Blade, Mordo, Dane Whitman, Black Knight, Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night, and Man-Thing. Question 21, is Moon Knight returning? Well, there have been reports that Moon Knight, as well as like She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and every goddamn MCU Phase 4 title are getting like second seasons and sequels. You know what? I don't think we need all of them to get sequels and second seasons, but I am hoping for Moon Knight to join the big leagues in Avengers Kang Dynasty and a Midnight Suns team up. 22, where is White Vision? Well, there is a Vision Quest series that was announced from WandaVision and Agatha Darkhold Diaries head writer Jack Schaefer. Since Schaefer is less interested in Avengers world building than she is in heartfelt character exploration, I think it's gonna follow White Vision in a kind of existential Ship of Theseus crisis as he tries to piece together his lost love Wanda Maximoff, kind of like Truman Burbank trying to remember that girl who got away in the Truman Show, tearing models' faces out of a magazine and reassembling her face that way. A Ship of Theseus. There are already so many Truman Show vibes in WandaVision, and I kind of want Vision Quest to build on that. 23. Where is that little piece of the symbiote from the No Way Home post-credit scene? We kind of forget that after Eddie Brock got loaded, he returned to his home Venom universe after Doctor Strange completed a spell, and a tiny piece of his Venom symbiote was left behind in the main MCU reality. There is Venom in the MCU, folks. Now, I don't think Marvel Studios can use Venom or any symbiote-infected character unless it's in a movie that they're co-producing with Sony, so I think we can expect to see a Venom plot in Spider-Man 4, or maybe this is all just setting up the black suit Spider-Man in Secret Wars, because we know that is coming. 24. What caused Eddie Brock's initial teleportation into the MCU to begin with? Now, this is a good question that I haven't really thought about. Technically, before the main events of No Way Home, Eddie Brock, on the tail end of the events of Let There Be Carnage, was in a hotel room, and the walls shook, the furniture glitched into a different universe's hotel room. He was now in the MCU. He saw Peter Parker on the TV, he licked the screen like a weirdo, but this moment was when Peter Parker was initially revealed to be the Spider-Man. This is before he went to Doctor Strange to cast the spell that went awry in the second act of that film, and that spell was what cracked open reality to bring in Doc Ock, Norman Osborn, Electro, and Sandman. Something else brought in Eddie before all that happened. So yeah, an interesting question. I think the answer is not gonna be found in the lore of the MCU. I think it's gonna be a Sony answer. The web of life and destiny. It was explored in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, universe, and another angle of it will be explored soon in Madam Web. The web of life and destiny is the cosmic force that selects these spider-associated heroes and villains and just kind of swaps them around into different universes according to whatever its grand design is. That could also be the reason why Michael Keaton's Vulture randomly transferred into Morbius's universe. 25. What's next for the High Evolutionary? Well, James Gunn clarified that the chief geneticist of the MCU in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was not Herbert Wyndham High Evolutionary from the comics. This was a different High Evolutionary from another planet other than Earth. A deleted scene from Guardians Volume 3 showed Rocket locking the face-peeled High Evolutionary in a prison cell in the Nowhere colony. I don't suspect we're gonna see Chukwuegi's character for a long time, kind of like how Kevin Feige kept Abomination in prison for over a decade. So maybe years from now, when we're in the middle of a mutant saga and Marvel's ready to explore mutant kind and other planets, the High Evolutionary will have a role to play with that. 26. Where is Eros, aka Star Fox? Well, on the red carpet for the Marvels, Kevin Feige told Ash Crusson that when it comes to Harry Styles as Star Fox, that Harry's excited, we're excited, and he just kind of left it at that. There are rumors of an Eternals 2, but after Disney's rough year in 2023, I just do not see how Bob Iger will greenlight sequels to so many underperforming titles. If Harry Styles ever returns, the only MCU titles that make sense to me are tentpoles like Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars, or maybe this 5th Thor film that's in the works supposedly. 27. Where did Arishem take the Eternals? I think they're facing judgment before the Living Tribunal in a multiversal court that'll look something like the Kang Dynasty Arena or the Cosmic Entities Chamber in Thor Love and Thunder. 28. Who bought Avengers Tower? Brandon Davis did! No. There were rumors that Mephisto might have bought the tower. I guess we'll see when Sacha Baron Cohen plays Mephisto in Ironheart. I don't know. That show's gonna be in Chicago, not New York. I think it was either Kang Industries, QENG, run by Kang Variant, Mr. Griffin's company, or a government seizure, eminent domain, by Val, the CIA director, because there was a newspaper headline in the Khan family home in the Marvels on the floor talking about government towers. 29. How does Marvel bounce back from this slump? Honestly, this question, or some lesser polite form of it, has been what most of you have been asking us about. And while I don't totally agree that Marvel is in a slump, not with Loki being this good, or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 being that good, Deadpool 3 and Fantastic Four on their way, and I think this whole doom and gloom sentiment is really being fed to people by outlets who don't know how to get engagement on Marvel news any other way because they've salted their own earths with constant negative coverage. But I'm also not an idiot. I can't deny the reality that the Marvels bombed, Secret Invasion was rough, Quantumania underperformed. I get it, but this franchise is not dead or dying. The way to fix it is what Marvel is already doing. They don't need our advice. Really, I should quote MCU book author Joanna Robinson, 2 words: do less. Kevin Feige remains one of the best franchise world builders in Hollywood history. He just clearly overextended himself with hours and hours of Disney Plus series to try to connect everything. Marvel is clearly getting back in their cadence of 1 movie per year, Deadpool 3 in 2024. That's it. And followed by a 2025 with, what's that? 4 Marvel movies? Oy vey. Yeah, I guess we will see if all of those movies still happen in that year. I'm pretty doubtful. Now, when it comes to these nerdy in-universe plot hole questions, will Marvel ever answer these questions? Have they ever answered one of these? Well, actually, funny you should mention that, because our 30th question is, who was Jimmy Woo's missing witness? And huzzah! Marvel finally answered this in a deleted scene released very recently in the WandaVision Steelbook. It was Evan Peters' character, Ralph Boner.
Let's keep an eye out for our missing witness. We still need him to testify. Should be easier to spot now that everything's back to normal.
So there you go, 30 lingering questions and one of them being answered already. What would have been your lingering questions as we look ahead to 2024 in Marvel? And yes, I am on paternity leave. Jessica Clements has come back to cover for me. I'll be back in a few weeks, but show Jessica and any other host you see on this channel in the meantime this month the same love and the same support you've always shown me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.